Oh my God. It's been a while, hasn't it? Well, I got a lot of ground to cover in this video, so I don't even know if I have time for a tagline. This is the Filthy Gearbox Garage. So, it's now
February 2023,
and it's been approximately
37 months.
since I bought the green camper bus. Well, I've made a lot of progress on it, but I also discovered that making videos about every single step of the way was more time consuming than the project itself. But anyway, in order to move things along, we're gonna steamroll through the entire year of 2020 just so we can get along to 2021, which was still 2 years ago. So, in our last exciting episode, I had brought home a pretty sad example of German engineering. Well, more like I had dragged home something. A microbus full of microbes. Would this thing even run? How rusty was it? What kind of ghost would I uncover? Would this mystery machine become a misery machine? Yep. Who writes this crap? Oh, that's right, Tara, you did. Fine, okay. Based on the thumbnail, you're all expecting some kind of sexy Scooby-Doo cosplay? Fine. I give in.
Rut Roh?
Rut Roh is right, Scoob. Zoiks! Okay, as it warmed up to the spring of 2020, well, this is also the lockdown, so this camper bus became a pandemic project. You can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes around pandemic project. First order of business was getting all the crap out of it. The dog bed, the nasty paneling, and oh God, I don't know what this black stuff was between the ribs, but it was nasty and oily like undercoating. Ay, ay, ay. Then it was on to the ratty squirrel knot on dashboard, and as luck would have it, I had not one, but two 1969 dashboards to choose from. Thanks, Dad, for all your hoarding? Putting the dash in was a week-long affair, and allowed me to get in there and do some electrical work and try to set things straight. The end result is about as good as it's gonna get. Not every single electrical thing works, but oh hey, look, that brand shiny new white steering wheel cover is there to distract you. By March, I tinkered a bit more with the engine, and soon those familiar dulcet tones of a Volkswagen Boxer engine rang throughout the neighborhood. Well, when it wasn't stalling, that was. So for the moment, no road trips as far as I was able to push the thing. So let's pick things back up in August. All right, so here it is as of August. And I've put a nice set of spiffy 14-inch wheel covers, which came off of an old Datsun pickup truck that my cousin had. And somehow I ended up with them, and they look gorgeous on this thing. Even though the back ones, I had to take the little center cap off them. So I have no idea if those are going to stay on, though. They really dress up the wheels, we'll just say that. So yeah, it is a kind of a half camper kit bus. We have the Z-bed, which I've redone the foam for, so I had this foam already. So we have the rearward facing seat, which is not safe at all. And I did the foam for that too. I still have to do the covering. It has the little table. We have the Jalousie windows. Go on to the back here. There's also the foam for the back as well. And I did a lot of work to the Z-bed because it was extremely rickety, we'll just say that. It is not a sunroof or a pop-top one. It has a fairly nice headliner in it. However, this is not the original. It's been redone, I believe. If this was just a proper bus, you would also have vinyl along here. And as it is, they just did this and then not this. And it looks horrible. So even though this is mostly intact, it doesn't go down through the windows. It's probably got mice in it. I'm going to pull all that down and do some kind of paneling instead, which would fit in much better with it being a camper. And I don't quite know what I'm going to do about the glue residue. I might have to figure out a way to take that off. It's a bit of a mess though. I mean, there's quite a bit of rust in there as well. It's just not very pretty. I had to go buy new tires, so that set me back a bit. But I've done the dashboard. This whole dashboard's been replaced. That was a lot of not fun doing the dashboard. But the old dashboard was just really terrible. There was also a terrible aftermarket carpet in front here instead of the proper rubber mat. And this rubber mat's not in the best shape, but it is at least the proper Volkswagen part. I put the door panels were not on it when I bought it, so I put these door panels on it. I believe they're out of a slightly later one, which is why they have this weird vent there. They're not in the best condition, but I needed something in there for now. This door has a nice, very reassuring quality bang when you close it. So yeah, we're gonna have to do some soundproofing in this thing. Tinted windows, these are awful, and it had like peace and love stuff all over it. It was very cliche hippie bus shit, and all the peace and love stuff is coming off, and the tinted windows are coming out. I'm gonna put in some non-tinted windows, which is a lot easier than trying to just take the tint off of this. Because I hate the whole, you know, let's tint the windows and make it like a creepy person in a van. Also, it's missing the cabinet that usually goes there, which is kind of a bad idea in the first place because it really blocks off your vision. So I'm going to build something smaller there. I'm going to try to make something creative with some kind of swing out table or something. We'll have to see what my plans come up with, and there'll probably be some kind of a, they call that a headbanger cabinet that goes over there. I'm going to build something over there, and there's probably going to be something covering the spare tire. Let's see what my plans come up with. There's usually an ice box here, and that's also something that's in the way. So I was kind of thinking if I could make the little icebox fridge into something here, maybe I could do something different and then keep this all open. The rear hatch is extremely messed up because there's a hinge pin that's right here that is all worn out, and they have a bolt in here. Oh my god. And when you open it all the way, it just does this, and that's why there's a tire iron keeping it from going up the entire way. So I have to rebuild this whole hinge pin, or find another one, or find this whole piece. This side's not as bad, although it's got a screw in here, except for a hinge pin as well, because the hinge pins would be some kind of hardened steel. Ow, ow. The dashboard I've replaced, and I worked on this. This could still use a bit of, there's like a big crack in here. Oh, this is a lot of problems. So that means that this bit just kind of shakes around. This is a well worn out bus, so this really needs some proper love. Now, the glove compartment box in here was this sort of black plastic stuff, and I painted it white so that you don't have such a dark and foreboding glove compartment. I also fixed the mirror. The mirror was, I had to replace this part, and that was kind of fun, popping a new one on there. What should I be doing next on this thing? Well, right now, the thing that's keeping me from driving it is even though it had last been driven in 2014, there's something nasty, sludge or dirt in the gas tank, and I've already run through at least one filter, clogging it up entirely. And whatever's in the gas tank is not good. And the fuel lines are not very good either. And let's just go to the engine compartment and take a look. Alright, so, and I'm obviously going to have to replace this hinge pin. That's a problem. Alright, so, here's your standard 1600cc Volkswagen Bug motor. Has an alternator on it, which is not quite correct. This carburetor looks pretty new. And most of this other stuff looks pretty new. And everybody back in the day used to put their fuel filters right here. It's not a good place for it. You're much, much better off putting your fuel filter right as it comes out of the gas tank, which is on top of the transmission. So, and then just having a straight pipe here. And it's a good idea to replace this fuel line every couple years and only get the proper Volkswagen Continental pipe. Do not buy fuel line from AutoZone because it's the wrong dimensions. You want the proper stuff you can get from like Bus Depot. So what I will be doing very soon is trying to clean out the rest of the gas tank. I'm going to take this off and put a straight one here, and then just have the fuel filter on top of the and have the fuel filter where it's supposed to be, or where it's better, and then hopefully if I'm lucky it'll run pretty well. It hasn't been running very well, but this also is very clogged up anyway. I've got a lot of these filters as it is. So that's how the motor's doing. Okay, so I've gone and replaced all the fuel line with the proper stuff, even though I've had some of this fuel line for 6 or 7 years. It's better than the 50-year-old fuel line that was on this car. And I'm also going to replace the throttle cable. It just turns out I have a brand new throttle cable here that I bought when I was driving my old red bus, and I had broken a couple of cables. I got a couple extra ones, so it turns out I had one all ready to go for this car. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Yes, I can do it one-handed. Oh boy. Alright, so this is something is keeping me from pulling this through. As you can see, there is a piece of string. This cable was broken and they had a piece of string on it. So yuck. Oh, great, now it's in the dirt. Oh well. Yeah. I'm gonna slide a little nut, a bolt, and two little nuts that I'm gonna tighten against each other, and that's hopefully gonna be the solution for this. Really supposed to have a little slide pin and like a cotter pin, but this is gonna have to do. Okay, well, I got good news and I got bad news. I got the throttle cable on pretty good, and got it so that it runs fairly decently. I got it running on all 4 cylinders, I think, although it's a bit spitting a little bit. It's not running great. However, that's not the big problem. The bad news is I've got an oil pressure light that goes on. Roughly at idle, but you really have to rev the engine up quite a bit to get it to go out, which is could be a couple different things. Could be just the oil is too thin, which is why I have 4 quarts of thick oil. I'm going to try that in it. However, I have a bad feeling that it's worse than that. Let's change the oil, and if I'm lucky, we'll drive around and see how that oil light situation is. And, I don't think I'm going to drive it very far with the oil light coming on like this, or even if it's got that bearing slap going on, which kind of sucks because I do want to fix this thing up to resell, but I'm going to have to put a better engine in it or do something about the bearing slap. I'm not just going to sell this thing as it is. I'm not going to make too much money off it. I'm willing to do the work to, but I want it to be good. I want someone to buy this thing and it to be pretty much free of trouble, because that's what you want to do when you buy one of these. You don't want to buy a cheap one that has lots of problems. You want to buy one that has all the problems figured out. And you can kind of get more money for that too. So, let's change the oil, I guess. There is oil in it, but it's kind of thin. So maybe I'll put some fresh 2050 oil in there, see how it is. However, I think that's going to be a band-aid repair, because the other thing that's not so happy is, I can show you. There's a little bit of main bearing end play, and that's never really good, because my other one, the blue one, the Music Mansion bus, does not do that at all. Here, I can show you. Ouch, that's hot. No end play at all. Ouch. Very, very hot engine. Okay. Oh, hello. So yeah, there's a little bit of oil under the motor here. I can tell that the pushrod tubes are not quite original. Some weird spring-loaded pushrod tubes. God knows what they did to this engine so far. Nope, that's not gonna fit. Let's see just how bad our oil is. Gonna get burned. Ugh. That's very thin oil. That is like, all right, that's some, yeah, okay, yeah, I don't know. All right, well, oh boy, that is some very thin. Oh wow, that's a. Hopefully, if I'm really lucky, maybe this is just like gas and starter fluid that thin this out. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's pretty thin. Very thin oil. Alright, let's drive. No, let's not drive it. Let's put some new oil in first. I don't know how many quarts of oil it takes, but we'll find out. Nice, thick stuff. Let's see how that is. We are at, oh, just about full. All right, so apparently 2.5 quarts does it? Let's put a little more in. All right, let's see what happens. All right. It feels a lot better. I don't know. It's not. Is that glowing a little bit? Not even glowing at all. All right. Let's see what kind of power I got. Can't say this is the best, not the tightest bus I've ever driven. It's pretty sloppy. I mean, it actually has pretty light steering. The engine does not sound quite right. It's a little not so great feeling, but it goes and it stops, and the oil light's not on anymore, so that's not horrible. It just doesn't want to idle, it wants to stall whenever I take the foot off the gas. I don't know about this engine. So yeah, I'm not super happy about if I have engine problems. However, it's not a deal breaker so much. I kind of had my suspicions that this particular bus was kind of worn out a bit, and even though I have some receipts from about 10 years ago that showed that they did $8,000 worth of work to it, which I'll probably get to that in a future update, because most of the work that they had done was just absolute garbage. And I think they put another motor in it, and they put a new carburetor on it and a new distributor and new spark plugs. They just did all that stuff on the outside, and they really didn't. Maybe they didn't start out with the greatest motor to begin with. May have been, I don't know. It may have only had about 10,000 miles left in it, which sometimes happen because these motors have a lot of miles on them. But if worse comes to worse, I do have some extra motors. They're a little rough around the edges, but they're real tight in the middle. So if I can find another motor out of my collection of motors that doesn't have any bearing slap, maybe I can just take all the tin and the doghouse and the muffler and all that stuff. Maybe I can move that over from this motor to that one and then rebuild this one later. But it's easier for me to just put another motor in it that that's got tight bearings and stuff, and just work from that. And that's how the blue bus, the Music Mansion bus, that motor was just a motor that I had that checked out good, and I got really lucky with it. So, persistent oil light problems and, well, an engine that didn't quite feel as silky smooth as the one in the blue one left me convinced that this motor didn't have a lot of life left in it. And unfortunately, well, where my other motors are and the places where I would work on it was about 10 miles away. So I figured this thing had about 10 miles left in it before all the oil leaked out or the engine seized or something horrible was going to happen. Well, turns out my mom's town is about 3 towns over and downriver from my town. And like a lot of people in the pandemic, I had taken up kayaking. So I had this crazy idea that I'd drive there and kayak all the way home. Well, I did film it all, and it wasn't very exciting. Riveting video it was not. So, can you use a kayak as transportation? Yes. Should you? No. This is riveting video. With the engine being problematic and kind of an unknown, I left it over at my mom's house for the winter, and I was going to pick it back up in the spring and probably rebuild an engine. Well, that's not quite what happened. Anyway. And by the way, no, I am not painting this thing to look like the Mystery Machine, okay? Jinkies.